We have Elvin Yasavevich, who will be talking to us again about shared storage, the importance of shared storage in post-production and broadcast. Elvin, please come in. Have your equipment connected in the meanwhile. Yes, just a reminder, this is the 25th edition of Broadcast India. Today is the last day of the conference, so whoever has been attending the conference so regularly, tomorrow please catch all the people who have spoken and get them at their booths and get the things that you need. This year we've got some 12,000 feet of extra space and more people have come in. Elvin, you ready?
Well, almost.
Just check the mic.
Yes.
The next session is mine.
I can use any of them. Okay,
cool.
Yep.
Hello, everyone. Okay, let's start. Okay, so my name is Elvin, all right, and I'm technical director of the company One Asia. We are a distributor for the Asia and Middle East of some products such as MOG, which is ingest and edit while ingest solution, Cuba Playout, which is up to 4K, and award-winning shared storage DDP dynamic drive pool, which I'm going to talk about it today. So, related to the shared storage, why shared storage is important for us? So, in an environment, in a post-production facilities where we have 5, 10, or 20 computers, we need some centralized storage, right? So, in a typical workflow, we got the people who are going to do ingest of the content, which can be either baseband, SDI ingest, all right, tape, or it can be file ingest, right? So, once when we ingest the content, we would like to provide the same content to our editors. Editors can be using Premiere or Media Composers or Final Cut X and so on and so on. Then, after the junior editor finish the cut, rough cut, senior editor going to take this content and work with. After that, we have in a typical workflow, we have people who are going to do our audio and audio sweetening, and they're going to do also grading. So, if we have a shared storage, we can do this, because when material is on our shared storage, everyone can access it at the same time. So once, let's say, single tape is ingested, all our 10 or 20 or 50 editors can see the file. So we have two kinds of storages. We have SAN systems and we have NAS systems. So 95% of the customers, they buy NAS systems, right? And 5% they buy fiber channel systems. NAS systems are simpler because there's only one network structure, right? Because it's simpler, they're also cheaper and easier to manage. So they're great, and that's why 95% people using them. However, the 5% of the people who decide to get a SAN system, their infrastructure is a little bit different because they have to use Ethernet for their metadata and optical cabling fiber for their data, which makes bit system more complicated. So related to visual representation, the look in between NAS and SAN, you will see on a Mac it looks like a yellow icon and gray icon is your typical NAS system. So if you go to the traditional SAN setup, the SAN setup looks something like this. So we have clients which can be PC, Mac, Linux. We cannot use the laptops unless we have a special adapter like a Thunderbolt to some, I don't know, Sonnet box with a fiber channel card. And we have obviously Ethernet switch for metadata, metadata controller, fiber channel switch, and a fiber channel storage. So why would people buy actually SAN system? They would buy it because it's faster. It's an I/O block level, and people who's got the money, they always buy SAN systems. Okay? but 95% of us, we buy NAS. So I'm going to talk about the DDP, the shared storage, which is award-winning shared storage last year, and top 3 companies for this year. So DDP basically is also SAN, but it goes over the Ethernet infrastructure. So what we have a clients, again, PC, Mac, and Linux machines. We got the standard Ethernet switch, any brand from Netgear to Cisco or whatever, okay? And basically, we got the DDP storage, right? So you might think the DDP is a NAS, no, DDP SAN system, because we use the iSCSI over the Ethernet, okay? So it's a SCSI over the Ethernet, which makes it SAN system. So with DDP, what we do, we give simplicity of the NAS systems with the performance of the SAN, okay? So simplicity of the NAS, but performance of the SAN. So you get the best of the both worlds, all right? So comparing typical NAS system to the SAN or our file system, you can see that at the beginning of every single TCP IP packet, you have a protocol overhead. On our file system or on any typical SAN system, you don't have that. You have only at the beginning of the sending of the data. This results in transferring the data 2 to 3 times faster than on typical NAS system, all right? So what does it make the best shared storage, all right? So how can we choose the best shared storage for our facility, all right? So, of course, performance. We all want to have the fastest and the best, right? Then you should have some kind of management tools for the managing your users, managing the projects, to enable you to share the files and so on. It should be simple to install and maintain, and of course, it shouldn't be that expensive, right? So DDP, this is the typical interface, which is identical on any platform. So either if you're using PC, Mac, or Linux, it's a web-based, so you can see basically how it looks like. On the left-hand side are your IOs, okay? So you can monitor, transfer it on each client, basically. In the middle is called, we have a control panel, and on the right-hand side are your permission preview. This slide shows you computers or desktops on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side are your volumes. So in order to make a connection, you only need to drag the line in between a desktop to one of the volumes on the right-hand side, and your jar is going to be automatically mounted. Now, let's talk about the speed, okay? So typical NAS systems would give you around 60 to 70 megabytes per second over the Ethernet cable, okay? But what happens when you connect 10 or 20 or 50 clients? Because of the latency, you're not going to get a 70 or 80 megabytes per second. You're going to get a slower, and you're going to get a lower performance, and you would feel more lag because there's a more latency between client machines and the server. On a DDP, what we can do with one Ethernet cable, because it's block level data, we guarantee the performance of over 100 megabytes per second, okay? But what we can do, we can also combine 2 cables together, and we can give you 200 megabits per second. So some people, they might say, oh, is this like a teaming or aggregation? No. Teaming and aggregation, they don't give you double cable speed. They give you load balance. You can use also 2 cables for the failover, but they don't give you double cable speed. DDP and technology called MCS, multiple connections per session, can give you double cable speed. We can also combine 2 10 gigabit interfaces together and get a double cable speed. So we can run from single machine, we can run full 4K high resolution 10-bit uncompressed, which is 1.3 gigabyte per second, not megabyte, gigabyte per second, okay? You cannot do this on any Omnion or Isilon or anything like that, okay? But what happens when you have a very fast throughput on your system? If you would like to edit and if you would like to copy material at the same time, once when you start copying and if you're editing, you're going to have a drop frames. In order to prevent dropping of the frames, we invented the bandwidth management. Okay, so what we have in our system, we can manage the read and write separately, which means if you have a single Ethernet cable, we can set it up, the writing to our shared storage at, let's say, 30 megabytes per second, but reading 80 megabytes per second. So this means I can plug my FireWire drive or USB drive, I can copy some of the data, and at the same time I can edit without drop frames. So this is called quality of the service. NAS servers do not have this. What they have, some of them, they can manage the bandwidth limit at the same time on a read and write, but they cannot do it separately. If you do the bandwidth management on a switch, you're going to have a lots of TCP IP packets retransmissions, and that's not good because you are losing the data. Another thing what we have, it's what we call workload management. So I'm going to again compare with some of the systems. In order to do this on any other typical shared storage, you have to have active or open directory, which is going to manage the rights of your users. Okay? So if you want to manage read and write or deletion and so on, you have to have another server. Without shared storage, you do not require this because all tools are built in. So example, I can give it to one user permission, he can only read. Other one, he can only use a folder as a Dropbox. Third option can be, example, he can read and write, but he cannot delete anything. Okay? So all of those tools are built in our shared storage. Next slide. It's about the folder volumes and quota control. Okay? So if you have shared storage, I don't know how much you are familiar with those, but if you have a multiple volumes mounted on your desktop, and if you would like to move the data in between the volumes, you're going to copy the data. Copying the data takes the time. You replicate that data, okay? And you saturate the bandwidth, which means your shared storage is going to work slower. For those reasons, we invented something we called folder volumes. There's no shared storage which can have this, okay? So what we do, we create a one master volume, we create a multiple directories or folders, and every single folder we can export as a folder volume with a real volume property. So I can give it to you, maybe one folder, or to yourself. And then me, myself, as an administrator, I can move the data in between the folders. And because I'm moving the data, I'm not copying anything. I'm not saturating my bandwidth. I'm not duplicating the data. So this is why this function is very important. Also what we can do, we can set the size on a folder. So example, I can give it to you 1 terabyte, or for yourself like a 2 terabytes and so on. And in real time, we can change the quota and allocation of space and so on. Another thing which is very important in a shared storage is to manage the projects. So what is the projects? Projects are your reference files for your composition, for your movie and so on. So when we record some video, and if you open it, example, in a Media Composer or Final Cut Pro, first time when we save the projects, it's going to save the one file which everyone on the same network can open. But then with our system, any of you can open the same project at the same time, edit it, and it can save as, or you can override if you want, okay? But we have all those tools built in. I spoke a little bit earlier today with one of the customer, very big customer, and he bought the Isilon system just recently. And in order to manage this, he had to buy another server, which is called MXF server, to manage their projects. The same thing is with the Omnion, the same thing is DDN and many other shared storage. They sell you one server, then sell you another one on top of that, and then when you have a trouble, you don't know where you start from looking at, right? Our system, in every box, comes with a application called Archive, okay? This application lets you back up to LTO, to single LTO. You have a license. The full copy of the software is installed, okay? So if you would like to synchronize data to make it identical copy from certain folders or whole volumes, you could just like get a license for the synchronization and it's there, okay? Also, if you would like to add the metadata to the files, you can have tools, and you can use the Archive application. This is the only third-party application which is in our system. Okay. So about dynamic drive pool. Okay. So it's very unique. It's an Ethernet IP based SAN. Okay. So it's not NAS. It is SAN, but it uses same cabling as a NAS. So with the DDP, you get the best of both worlds. You get the SAN performance, but simplicity of the NAS. All right. It's very fast, as I said before. It supports all clients. There are no licensing, so you can add as many clients as you wish. You have a project and file-based sharing. It's very simple to use, to set up and maintain. And one of the most important things is that it's not expensive. So in one of the summaries, which I want to do it, we have a systems which starts from only 4 drives up to like over 5 petabytes of the systems storages. So we have hundreds of different kind of configuration for the every company and every budget. We can connect 1 gig, 10 gig, 40 gig. We can multiply connections. We can scale the bandwidth and capacity. We can go over 4 petabytes and free and limited licenses. Okay? So the box, simple to install, maintain, and operate, is checked. We can do this, project and file level sharing. We are faster than any NAS system, and we are also faster than any SAN system. It's easy to expand. It's inexpensive, but the most important thing that it works. All right? On this slide, you're going to see some of our clients, okay, who are very happy about it, and this will be my last slide. So I would like you that you ask me any questions related to the video, related to the storage, related to the project sharing, and so on, and thank you for this. Okay?
Hello.
Hi, just wanted to check if we want to make some kind of a disaster recovery site of all this data. How do you do that?
Okay, so basically, related to the recovery disasters and preventing those things to happen, we use a RAID controller, hardware RAID controllers, which managing our RAIDs. All right. Database is always on a separate drives in a RAID 5, and we use preventative measures by checking the disks, example, every 3 months. There are the tools in a hardware RAID controller and even in a GUI that you can check your disks and you can find the bad blocks. If you find the bad blocks which could cause timeout error, those files, those blocks are going to be zeroed and moved over. And next time, if you run the same check, if you have on the same disk, if you have an error, we're going to ask you to replace it. Because if you do not do this, even if you have a system with no single point of failure, your system can crash. So we advise, after those checks, to take the drive and replace it. And with every system, we give always spare drives. We don't put any firmware on any drives, and all components can be sourced locally in the case of emergency. So we use iX9 Supermicro. We use either 8 or 10 or 12 core processors. We use Arika RAID controllers, and we use Hitachi Enterprise hard drives. Okay, our system comes with a 2-year warranty. Software and hardware is guaranteed, and you get a remote support, email, and Skype support as well for free. Okay?
Thank you.
Any other questions, guys? I would like to say that our booth is A102, we are next to Blackmagic Design, and anyone who would like to see how this really works, I would ask to just pop in to say hello, and we can show them how it works, all right? Any other question? Okay, would that be it then?
Yes, not before we...
Okay, so this is, yeah, I would like to
Momento.
congratulate you on 25 years.
Yes. And look into that camera because that is where it's going to come in.
Okay, thank you so much.
Welcome.
Cheers.